Hello and welcome to Money Matters TV. We have an absolutely terrific show lined up for you today. I'm Patricia Dunn from the Dunn Group at Merrill Lynch in West Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. And today my co-host is Ken Jordan from Freedom Mortgage. Welcome, Ken. And our guest today is Ken Schur. We have two Kens. Ken Schur of Schur Coaching, and Ken's specialty is working with late career individuals facing either major challenges or dilemmas. And it's one thing to have a major challenge early in your career. It's another thing to have one late in your career. So let's get started. I wanted to talk today about some aha moments that investors go through. There's two of them I have found in my career. The first one is when one turns about 40 years of age. And that aha moment is that, oh my, it's not just my parents who will retire. I'm going to retire someday. And I'm now 2 decades into my career. I have spent time getting married, having children, buying a home. It's time for me to get serious. So my co-host wants to ask about an aha moment. So let's cut to Ken for a moment.
Pat, you had mentioned that there was a couple times in your career, or in in a person's career where they have aha moments. I remember we were talking about that. What are those aha moments?
Well, the first one, as I said, is around 40 years of age, and you realize that that your parents are not the only ones that are going to retire, and it's time for you to get busy, get serious about investing and savings. Now, typically at this point in one's career, one tends to invest in low cost options, either low cost or no cost. And the idea here is that if you don't spend money on fees, you have more money to invest, which may or may not be true depending upon how successful you are. And I wanted to share a story of one that wasn't so successful. First, I'll back up and talk about an individual client who came to me in her early 40s. She was a young widow, and with life insurance proceeds has inherited a lot of money and wanted to be sure that it was done right. So she came to me at Merrill Lynch, and we invested and got her started. Now, this woman is still with me today, 45 years later. She's in her early 80s. But around 2010, she called me up one day out of the blue and said, would I mind talking to a friend of hers who had lost 75% of her investment values during the 07-08 bear market, and quite frankly, she was frightened. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. The 07-08 bear market lost 37%. She lost double that. How in the world did she manage to lose that much money? So I agreed to see her more out of curiosity than anything else. And when we met, it became abundantly clear. She started investing in her 40s. She invested in no-load mutual funds, and she decided as a smart investor, she would invest with multiple no-load mutual fund companies. And she must have had 8 of them. But what she didn't do was diversify by investment strategy. And she bought the same strategy 8 times. It was a highly aggressive and volatile strategy. So when the market went down, it went down 8 times. And whether one mutual fund was better run than another, who knows? But the result was she lost 75% of her money. Not a happy aha moment. Now, the second aha moment, to answer your question again, typically happens between the ages of 55 to mid 60s. And this is where you go, wait a minute, retirement's around the corner. I'm at the top of my career. The demands on my time are excessive, to say the least. I no longer have the luxury of managing my own investments, and they're scattered all over the place. It's time that I get some serious financial planning, figure out where I stand, and start consolidating those assets. And typically, that's when Merrill Lynch, the Dunn Group, that typical client comes in their mid-50s. Now, the best story here, and it's a true story just like the other one. I'm going to call the couple Dick and Susan. Not their real names, but real people. Dick he's retired now, an engineer, and she was a nurse. She's retired too. And they came to me at this point in time and said, we need help. And we got financial plan, retirement plan, assets consolidated, on the right path. Everything is sailing towards retirement. And about 6 months into the relationship, I had to call for something. I don't even remember. And I said, Susan, it's Pat Dunn, Merrill Lynch. She says, stop. I'm like, okay. She said, I have to thank you. I said, what for? Brilliant repartee, really. And she said, Pat, you've been very upfront with us about what your investment strategy is, what your investment philosophy is. I need to explain to you what Dick and my investment philosophy was and what a difference you've made. She said, we're very simple people. As you know, we are chronic savers. And our whole approach to investing was very simple. Every year, we would put another investment egg in the basket, year after year after year, until we got a full basket. And that would be when we retired. And when we retired, then we'd start taking the eggs out and we'd live on that egg until it was exhausted. Then we would take out another egg and live on that till it was exhausted. And we would do this for the rest of our life. And if there were any eggs left in the basket, that's what would go to the kids. She said, Pat, you are the very first person who made me actually look at the eggs, figure out which eggs were working and which ones weren't, and how they all fit together. And she said, for the first time, I have real confidence in my portfolio. For me, Ken, that was the ultimate aha moment, because what better visual is there as to why someone would come to a full service firm like a Merrill Lynch or a JP Morgan or what have you, seek out a team of seasoned professionals with credentials after their names. Yes, pay fees to do so, but get what we refer to as personalized advice. Eggs in a basket. That's what we do. Now, I wanted to ask you, Ken, what kind of aha moments do people that invest in real estate go through?
Well, that's a great question. And before I get into that, experience matters, right? Is part of part of our conversation and mentioned. And I understand there's some congratulations in order.
Thank you.
45 years with Merrill Lynch.
45 years. Yes.
Wow, that is a real testament to a level of stability that I can't imagine that doesn't benefit the folks that you work with. So congratulations on that before I get into my aha moments.
Thank you.
So there are a couple of aha moments in the real estate process as well. And I think that one of the most important aha moments, and it can be a positive or a negative, is affordability. There's an awful lot of folks that begin the mortgage or they begin the real estate search without actually knowing what they qualify for. And they either have that aha moment where it's like they go to apply for a loan and they find out, aha, I don't qualify for a $500,000 house with no money down. And that could be a bad time to find that out. Or there's another aha moment, and that is after speaking to someone, we do the pre-approval, they find out, aha, I can afford more than I thought. And that's really a positive one, because it would be a shame for folks to be out there searching for a home without actually knowing what they qualify for, and then maybe they're leaving out a bunch of homes that would be perfect for them, all because they weren't sure if they could actually afford them, or they weren't sure if there was a program out there that could help them attain that product and still meet their objectives. So there's definitely aha moments, and that's one of those early in the transaction aha moments that people have on a pretty regular basis.
Well, that sounds like it lends itself quite nicely to our viewer question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
We have Tim Ryder from Marion, Pennsylvania, who wants to know, he says, my loan officer says I can't apply for a mortgage loan until I have provided a copy of a signed purchase contract. Is that true?
First of all, Tim, that is a phenomenal question, and there are a couple different ways to answer it. On its surface, yes, it is true. On a purchase, you can't apply for a mortgage without a purchase contract, okay? But what you can do prior to having a purchase contract and speaking with a loan officer is prepare for the transaction. And the best way to do that is through the pre-approval. I always say that a pre-approval application, where we look at income, we look at assets, we run credit, is as much about me getting information from you as it is giving information to you. It's more about preparation. It's about education. We talked about the aha moments, and the aha moments come from the ability to come from the reality of sitting down with someone and mapping out what you're trying to achieve, and truly understanding what tools you have at your disposal to help you achieve that. And that's really what the pre-approval is all about. And then when you go under contract, the fully executed contract, or the signed purchase contract, that's just another step in the process. Now, at that point, you're not in the first inning of a 9-inning game. You're in the third inning of a 9-inning game, because you've already accomplished so much work ahead of time.
All right. Well, for our viewers out there, if you'd like to know how to get your questions answered on Money Matters, grab a pencil, because here's how it's done. Okay, welcome back to our show. And now we're going to turn our attention to our guest, Ken Scher, whose wisdom I am really looking forward to, because Scher Coaching focuses on, like me, end career stage individuals facing challenges and/or dilemmas. So welcome, Ken, to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, let's help our viewers out here. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how did you get into coaching?
Sure. So a majority of my career was spent at Johnson & Johnson. I was in various sales and marketing leadership roles. I also led the Johnson & Johnson sales recruiting department for the United States, and I led 3 different sales training and leadership development teams. Now, Johnson & Johnson, besides Band-Aids and baby powder and an occasional lawsuit, is known for leadership development. And I feel very fortunate that I got it growing up in the company. And then I led 3 different teams where we designed, developed, and delivered it to different levels of leadership at J&J. Unfortunately, at 52 years old, with 2 kids in college and 1 in high school, I got laid off. I ran into a general manager who was new to the company, and he let me know he had his own people he wanted to bring in, and I was not part of the future. I thought I was going to turn him around, to be honest with you, but I didn't, and all of a sudden found myself out of work. And it was a really challenging, difficult time for me. I spent probably 3 or 4 months working through it, and I had to get a little help, I'll be honest with you, to do that. But I worked through it, and then when I looked at the job market, I saw it was completely unrecognizable. I had been 25 years with J&J, never had to look for a job outside the company, even though I had 7 or 8 different jobs within the company. But I figured it out, and I actually landed 3 jobs while I was still in my 50s. I just turned 60, so I'm not that far out of my 50s. And while I was doing that, though, there were a few things that happened. One was I realized that other people needed help, and I was able to help them. I realized too that I was pretty much done. My last job was at Bristol Myers Squibb, and I was pretty much done with corporate America. And if I'm being totally honest, Pat, I think corporate America was probably done with me too. And then I look back on my career, I realized the thing I loved best was coaching. In every job I had, helping people to better themselves, helping people to advance their career. And I thought that with my positive experience of J&J and leading recruiting and leadership development teams, and the negative experience of going through it myself, I knew I could help other people. And I especially knew I could help people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who are struggling in the job market. So about 5 years ago, I hung up my shingle, and it's been a great run ever since.
Ken, I have a question for you. First off, great name, by the way. I can't go without complimenting on your first name choice. What parallels are there between career coaching and executive coaching? I know they're a little bit different.
That's a good question, Ken. I actually, when I first started out, I started out under the umbrella of career management. And I did that because I do think there are a lot of similarities, but in the marketplace, as anybody in business knows, it doesn't matter what you think is right. It's what the market thinks is right in terms of how you present yourself. But I decided to present myself now as a career coach and executive coach. But in both cases, it's about career management. As a career coach, if you're out of work, you need to get your materials together. You need to put together a strategic plan to find your next opportunity. And if you're in a position of leadership, you want to continue to develop yourself and to grow your career and advance your career in whatever direction you want. So in both cases, it's about uncovering the needs of the client, where they want to go career-wise, and how to get them there.
Awesome.
Well, then that leads into what I'm wondering about. What is the biggest mistake, aha moment, that people make with their career or their business?
That I really, when I was watching you with your part, Pat, and that aha moment struck me in the way you just described. I think what people do, often with their career is, and I think this is parallel with the business owners I work with and business leaders, they get so caught up in what's happening today. Their heads are down, they're working hard, they're getting things done, and they're successful in the moment, forgetting that things change. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, about last March, where everything was humming along for people, the economy was going great, and out of nowhere, this pandemic hit and changed everything. So I think what's really important for people is to always consider what could be next. What is next? What's the contingency plan? And I think the key to that success is having a good, strong network and not letting that fall to the wayside.
Ken, tell me about this trust model. What is the trust success model?
Well, Ken, when I was at J&J, again, once I left, I did a lot of reflection, and I realized that a lot of my success was due to the relationships that I built. And all those relationships, the really good, productive relationships, were based on trust, that they trusted me to do my job and they would help guide me and all, but they let me do what I needed to do. And I trusted that my leadership had my best interests in mind, both professionally and even personally. And so when I realized that trust is a foundation of great relationships, and great relationships are the foundation for success, I developed the trust success model. And like any self-respecting model, it's an acronym. And it stands for transparency, results, understanding, simplify, and team. And each aspect of that can relate to either job search or really to business success. So transparency is being open with people, letting them know you're not hiding anything. There's nothing that you're holding behind your back. Results, it's all about results, right? It's all about what can you deliver, but it's also about how you deliver them. At J&J, we used to have an expression, you could get the best results, but if you leave bodies in your wake, that's not a good result. Understanding, you need to understand where people are coming from. I know, Pat, that's how probably a basis of your success is knowing where people are coming from and where they want to go. The world's a very complicated place, so the S is simplify. Let's boil it down to what's really important. And then in terms of team, again, I think team is really important. And two types of teams I think you want to have: a personal one that gives you that support, that encouragement, that celebrates with you, that picks you up when you're down. And you also need to have that network that's going to help you professionally as well.
All right. Well, can you give us like an example of how a business leader today would use this model for their success?
Sure. So I think when let's talk in terms of a business leader dealing with their team. I think a business leader would start off, the best they can do is to be as transparent as possible, to share all the information that they can with their team so that they allow their team to do their jobs the best they can, so that they can make good decisions without always having to check back, so that they can handle issues that come up, knowing that they have all the information they need to do so. When you don't do this, one way you know this isn't happening really is when you have micromanagement. When a leader doesn't let their team do what they're supposed to do, they're always in their business. Give them the information, let them do their jobs, and then step back. Results. You want to have results, you need to have goals. What are we trying to achieve? Everybody needs to be on the same page, looking at the same thing. Understanding. I mean, today more than ever, we need understanding. I mean, people working from home, I don't know how many calls I've been on with kids screaming in the background and cats walking across the back of the chair. And I even had a call with a woman who had her baby in her lap. And you have to understand that we are all doing the best we can, and whatever support a leader can give will help with the success. Simplify. As I mentioned, the world's complicated. Here's what you need to do. Let's get all the nonsense out of the way. And then team. I'm sure we've all felt it. And I know, Pat, your team at Merrill Lynch, you guys, you have it. It's when you're all working together towards the same goal, you have each other's back, you're getting things done. There's nothing better than that. And that begets more success. So each aspect of that model, I really think, can help any leader be more effective.
So Ken, tell me, let's shift gears a little bit. How does a job seeker, how does someone who's looking for a job utilize the trust model?
Okay, excellent question. So the way that would work is, again, starting with transparency. When you lose your job, there are options. You need to decide, what am I going to do? And I think you need to have some introspection, be transparent with yourself about your work history. What did you like to do? Where were you successful? What were your best moments? What are the skills that you have that you could bring forward to get back into the same kind of role or to switch roles? When you're talking to people, whether it's in networking or interviewing, you need to be talking results. Hiring managers, they want to know, what are you going to bring to the table? What are you going to do for me? And your results will help give them that idea. In terms of understanding, I focus a lot on social media, and LinkedIn is in particular. How do you use LinkedIn to effectively market yourself and find opportunities? And lately, also, understanding has taken on another role in terms of the pandemic and being able to show empathy for other people and understand, even if it's a hiring manager during the interview, understand that the hiring manager is going through a lot of the same things the candidate is. From a simplified point of view, once again, try to get rid of all the nonsense. You know what you want to do, focus on that, don't spread yourself too thin. And then the same team idea of a network to help you find professional opportunities and a team to support you, of family, friends, loved ones that'll encourage you and keep you motivated.
Ken, you're absolutely right. The business environment today is so complex and challenging on so many levels.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure for many out there in the workplace, particularly towards the ends of their career, they worry about, how does one remain relevant?
Mm-hmm.
Would you address that? That's a tricky issue.
Yes, it really is. And yet, I think there are a couple ways you can do that. One, getting back to social media and LinkedIn, there really is so much opportunity on LinkedIn to market yourself and to represent yourself as an expert, as an opinion leader. And what I often recommend to my clients is set aside some time. It could be 30 minutes, 3 times a week, and make sure you get into LinkedIn. And if you like to write, post something. repost something, make good, deep, intelligent comments about issues related to your field, raise questions that would start conversations on LinkedIn or whatever social media site works for you, because that keeps you relevant. It keeps you at the head of the class, so to speak. And in terms of in the workplace, I think just making sure that you continue to demonstrate that even though you may be older, you're still at the top of your game. There is age discrimination out there. We all know that. But age discrimination is not about the fact that you're 55 or 60 years old. It's about the fact that you didn't keep up with technology. You didn't keep up with the trends in your field. You don't have the energy level. You're not getting through the whole day, really getting things done. So remaining relevant in the workforce just means you might have to push yourself a little harder as you get older, but it means just maintaining that same level of effort and performance.
So there's been so much great information here, Ken. But I do, if there's any other piece of advice that you would share with our viewers, to have success in today's job market, what would that piece of advice be?
Well, it's advice that I'm sure many people have gotten and know it's true, but often it's not necessarily done. And that is to network. I think having an active network, making sure, just like with LinkedIn, you put aside time to connect with people. So you have a truly active network that you could reach out to, and you can either offer help or get help from. And that's where I think whether it's a business leader or a job seeker falls short, because the job seeker, when they're in their role, or the business leader, when they're driving their business, like I said earlier, are heads down getting it done, and they forget about their network. And all of a sudden they need their network. And one of the biggest challenges for my clients is, I haven't spoken to that person in so long. I hate to call them. And it's, they know I need something. So just targeting a group of people, you're not going to be able to have 200 active network people, but find a good diverse group of people that you could stay connected with, help them as much as you can. And then when you need it, it's much easier to get it from them.
Thank you so much, Ken. This has been a real eye-opening show today. But I do want to share with our viewers who next week's guest is, and that is Candida Toshia Seesock. And she is the founder of the Executive Leaders for Advisory Boards. Now, what is Executive Leaders for Advisory Boards? They focus on mid-sized companies, and they help the executives and their boards by supporting the vision, the innovation, change that supports operations, finance, technology, and employee growth. And I'm sure that Candida will have some very interesting things to share with us. So be sure to tune in. Until then, remember, your money matters. Thank you.